moody, inconsistent motivation, very sensitive, intense reaction, protective, indirect, gentle, a little awkward sometimes, and sometimes a little paranoid. Mars is going to be in Cancer for most of the next 6 months due to its retrograde from December 6th to February 23rd, so it is a good time to look at the deeper structure of these significations, as we are all going to feel this transit at some point, no matter what our natal charts look like. The malefic planets, Saturn and Mars, are planets of extremity. The benefics, Venus and Jupiter, moderate, and the malefics incite. Sometimes this manifests as persistence, bravery, excellence, or disciplined rebellion. Sometimes it manifests as egotism, recklessness, manipulation, or violence. The youthful masculine energy of Mars, in particular, is interested in speed, intensity, and thrill. Mars is our survival instinct, our inner animal, the motivation that gets us moving in the morning, the desire to go off on our own and figure it out by ourselves. The rebel, the iconoclast, the warrior. Mars is exalted in Capricorn because Capricorn provides a structure and a long-term goal towards which Mars can direct its energy. And in a Capricorn system, the pursuit of selfish desires can contribute to the good of a collective. Sometimes. But in Cancer, Mars is considered to be in fall. And since the moon rules Cancer, it means Mars is dependent on the cycles of the moon, who changes signs every few days and represents our changing moods. This makes it hard for Mars to find consistent motivation, and when emotional needs are not met, the intense animal reactions of Mars can be triggered. Unlike planets in detriment, which often struggle to express themselves, planets in fall are very strong. Often, especially in younger people, their expression is just a little messy, counterproductive, or socially unacceptable. They fall into psychological traps, or they are considered fallen, shameful in the eyes of conventional wisdom. But with resources and with the right container for the energy of fallen planets, they can be just as glorious as an exalted planet. Cancer represents the home, a place where we can let our guard down and really relax, a safe place for children to grow and for family to bond. Build emotional connections through food and entertainment and unhinged goofiness. Similarly, Cancer represents our inner world, the lunar realm of fantasy and dream and precious memories that we hold behind our eyes. Like a political rebel returned home after many years of protest, Mars can feel a bit out of place in Cancer. Their manners are rough, their humor is crude, they don't know how to relax. Their family seems so sensitive, they keep hurting people's feelings. They don't know where to direct their energy in this strange environment, and with nothing to distract them, repressed wounds surface, making them jumpy and irritable. When they are able to sleep, they have nightmares, horrible flashbacks. And yet this can be a wonderful opportunity. Forced to consider the feelings of others, they may discover a new outlet for their energy, a desire to nurture and care, to let out their inner animal in dance or play. And when they relax like this, space is created to process difficult emotions, which allows healing. Instead of reactions motivated only by trauma, intentional action is possible. Action informed by trauma, but not controlled by it. Action motivated by a long-term understanding of their own and others' emotional needs. How Mars expresses itself in Cancer for someone born with Mars in Cancer, or for you during this transit, is going to depend on the natal chart in entirety, but especially your moon placement. A water moon may increase the sensitivity, and a fire moon the reactivity. An earth moon might stabilize the motivations, while an air moon might provide some welcome perspective. In all cases, though, I would expect some sort of emotional intensity with Mars in Cancer. Extremes of emotions, directed sometimes inward in fantasy and sometimes outward. Robin Williams found a very healthy flow for this energy in his rapidly shape-shifting comedic personas, though it seems to have contributed to his mental illness as well. While the warm, nurturing container of Cancer resists the sharp, severing nature of Mars, sometimes Mars is necessary. Sometimes to care for ourselves, as Hawk astrology notes, we need to cut our sugar intake. Sometimes we need to cut people off. Other times, the conflict Mars introduces can actually help us to build more genuine and trusting relationships. Diana Rose Harper says that Mars in Cancer rages against the insufficiency of care. We see this in Malcolm X, a Taurus sun who directed his energy more externally towards systemic racism and resource inequality. He attacked the false comforts of capitalism, became a warrior on behalf of the Cancerian vulnerable, and was fallen, shot down by bureaucratic political interest, Mars in Capricorn. But astrology describes less polished examples as well. We could also translate Mars in Cancer as violence against the homeland, against the nation, the family, or the mother. Animal greed in a place of pooled resources. Self-interest in a place of selfless care. Violence against the vulnerable, the beast, undomesticated, in pain. Though perhaps in pain. Someone whose extremity, their mood fluctuations and neurochemical imbalances, their compensatory addictions and self-destructive behaviors disrupt consistent engagement with the many and diverse responsibilities of life. These may be the people who need our help during this transit. Whatever the case, the practice with Mars in Cancer involves finding a container for intense feelings. Sharp blades need a well-oiled sheath. They must be handled with great care, for it is easy to cut others and even easier to cut oneself. Look at Picasso, who with great compassion dipped his brushes in his blood and painted Guernica, and meanwhile abused the women he dated out of misogyny and sadism, and filtered their suffering through his dream life and into his paintings. Mars in Cancer poses a question. As Austin Coppock writes, the question is how to prevent aggressive drives from damaging what one is sworn to defend without losing the positive virtues that Mars and his attendant energies provide.